What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 9 of my weekly Rust Tips series. This week's tips are based off of last week's solo playthrough series episodes, which were Wipe 4, episodes 6 through 10. Be sure to check out the other episodes on the channel to get all my current tips, and subscribe to make sure you get the latest ones. Anyways, let's get started. When you're first building your base in your base location spot, make sure to check if you're going to honeycomb around it. So for example, if I wanted to honeycomb this 2x1, make sure with the building plan, you can check to make sure you can honeycomb around all the sides. You can also eyeball it once you get more experience, but even when you eyeball it, you can still make mistakes, as I did in my solo playthrough series. And you can also check to make sure you can put the bunker here as well. Whatever you want to do, you can check it with the building plan. I'm going to show you guys some commands you can type into the console that will help you out. So to open up the console, just press F1 on your keyboard and it opens up the console. This is what it looks like. And this is where you type in a whole bunch of commands. I'm going to show you the ones that I use the most. So starting off, kill, K-I-L-L, enter. Just does what it says, kills your character, makes you respawn. And yeah, that's about it. Pretty self-explanatory. Next one I'm going to show is combat log. So press F1 and type in combat log, one word, C-O-M-B-A-T-L-O-G. Hit enter. The one you see on screen is going to look a little weird because I was messing around on a private server. So I'm going to show you a screenshot of one to better explain it. Alright, so here's a screenshot of a combat log. It gives a bunch of columns that give a whole bunch of different information as far as receiving or giving damage to different entities in the server. So first one on the left, time, just shows how long ago the damage happened. Attacker is the person or thing doing the damage. ID is the ID that is linked to the attacker. Target is the thing receiving the damage. ID is the ID of the target. Weapon is the weapon that's used to do the damage. Ammo is the type of bullet or arrow that is used to do the damage. Area is whatever hitbox it hits. Distance is how far away the damage happened, how far apart the two things were from each other. Old HP is the HP before the damage, and new HP is the damage afterwards. Something that you might see that might pop up is projectile invalid. What that means is, essentially in simple terms, is whatever happened on your screen isn't what actually happened as far as what the server saw and what the server puts out. So this basically usually happens when you're doing damage and you die pretty much at the same time. So on your screen, you might hear a hitbox, you might hear a hit marker, and you might be, oh, I did damage to this guy, but in reality, to the server, you were dead before that even happened. But on your screen, you still saw it and heard it. So that's basically what projectile invalid means. And yeah, that's combat log. Next command I'm going to show is physics.steps. So physics.steps. And the default value is 32. You can change this up to 60. So you just do space. So physics.steps space 60. Hit enter and it changes the physics.steps to 60. And basically what that does, it just makes your character jump higher. So if you're barely able to not make a jump, like you're barely missing it by like an inch, a centimeter, type in this command and you just might be able to make the jump. I like to leave it at default 32 because, like I mentioned earlier with projectile invalids, this physics.steps does kind of could play a role into that, because what you see on your screen is kind of different than what the server sees, and it confuses the server, and supposedly you get more projectile invalids when you have physics.steps set to 60. So I like to leave it at the default, which is 32, and then if I need to, I switch it to 60, just typing it into the console, and then I switch it back afterwards when I make the jump. So yeah, that's physics.steps, just makes you jump higher. Next is the bind command. So bind, what it allows you to do is just make a keybind on your keyboard to whatever you want to do. So for example, right now when I press 0 on my keyboard, it doesn't do anything, but with bind I can make it do something in the game, like with the console. So I'm going to type bind whatever key you want to keybind. So I'm going to bind 0 and then whatever command you want it to do. So for example, I'm going to do jump. So what the plus jump means is it only works when I'm hitting it only. So I hit 0 once, it jumps once. It's if I didn't have the plus there, I would continuously jump when I press 0, but I don't want that to happen. I want one push of the button one action. So that's what the plus sign does. So bind 0 plus jump, hit enter. What I've just done is I binded 0 to jump. So now when I go back into game, you guys can't see me pressing 0, but I'm actually pressing 0 on my keyboard, and now I jump. So yeah, that's that. That's how you can bind a key to bind an action to any key on your keyboard, whatever you want to do. I suggest looking up a separate video. There's a whole bunch of creative ideas and a whole bunch of different binds. I'm actually going to show you some of mine right now. And the best way to show that is to go into the file where all these binds are saved, which I'll show you how to do right now. So what you're going to want to do is go into Steam, find Rust in your games, right click it, go to manage, go to browse local files. And then this is where all your Rust files are saved for the game. You're going to go into CFG. You're going to hit C client, keys, and keys default. Right click keys, hit edit, or you can edit with whatever text editor you want. Normal notepad is fine. I'm just going to use this. Let me zoom in so you guys can see. And yeah, these are all the binds I have. So as you can see, the bind 0 jump, it got saved into this file. So that's why you see that here. And these are the binds that I have set in game. I'll show you guys some of the ones that I use that are kind of out there or are different or aren't default. Bind C craft.add and then a number. What this does is when I press C on my keyboard, it queues a bandage into the crafting queue as long as I have cloth. You can look up a whole list of these IDs and then you can make whatever bind you want to. I suggest you do that if you're interested in that. This bind, not a huge deal. It's just one that I have. You might be wondering what it does, so I'll just explain it. Bind L spawn.fill groups. This is an admin command. So when I'm on the private server and I press L, it pretty much just spawns in all the boxes, all the scientists at wherever I'm at. So I use this command a lot when I'm on my private server, so that's why I have it. It doesn't work on normal servers because I'm not an admin on normal servers. Bind M, graphics at FOV 60. This just changes your FOV to 60 when I press M, and then N changes my FOV to 90. I usually stick on 90 for the most part, but when I want to see something from farther away look bigger, I just change my FOV to 60. So all I have to do is just press a button, and if I want to switch back, then I just press another button to switch back. Pretty simple. No clip. This is another server admin command. Just allows you to fly around. Debug camera. Just similar to no clip, except it's like a camera in the server. So I use this to take my screenshots of stuff. U attack duck. This makes my character continuously attack because the plus sign is in there, and continuously duck, and it's pretty much just an auto farmer. So when I want to pick out a wall or whatever I want to do, AFK, pick out a wall, all I have to do is hit U, so I don't have to hold down mouse or anything like that. Bind W plus forward plus sprint. This makes it so whenever I press W, I'm not only going forward, but I'm also sprinting at the same time, so I don't have to hit shift at all. It's very useful. I find it very useful in Rust to be always sprinting. I don't see why you shouldn't be. And if I really want to walk around, all I have to do is hit shift and my character will start walking. All I do is hit shift once. Bind X plus slot 6 and bind Z slot plus 5. So what this does is instead of hitting 5 and 6 to hit your hotbar slot 5 and 6, all I have to do is hit Z and X. I have these set to, usually I have my meta items in 5 and 6, so that's why I have them on X and Z, because in other games, that's what my heal buttons are. So just like to keep that muscle memory intact, so that's why I have that. Bind F1 console toggle, console clear, and combat log. So what this does is, at default, bind F1 just console toggle, but I added in that it clears the console, so it just clears the text, makes it look nice and clean whenever I press F1. And then combat log, it just opens up the combat log on default, so I don't have to type in combat log and hit enter, because I use combat log probably the most, so I just have to hit one button and the combat log shows up. Pretty useful, pretty helpful. Don't have to worry about making a typo or anything like that in the middle of a fight or whatever. Bind mouse for hover loot. This is just the hover loot button instead of H. I just find it easier that it's on my mouse. And then last, bind mouse wheel down plus jump. I like to use mouse wheel to jump around. I like to bunny hop around. If you've ever watched me play, I usually just jump around everywhere I go. It's just a habit from other games and stuff. So that's why I have that. And yeah, that's pretty much the bind command. You can do it in game in the console like I showed with the bind 0 plus jump, but you can also go into this file and edit it directly. And I find it more reliable. It saves more often if you just do it in here. And it's just a lot easier to edit and see what you're doing. Because if you're in the console and you type something, you might do a typo and you have no idea what you just did. Whereas in here, when you do a typo, you can just delete it and then retype it out and you see it directly. So that's why I like to change my binds in here. So yeah, that's it. That's the bind command. The stone for wood trade is extremely beneficial at Outposts, not only for saving time on chopping trees and not having to chop trees in the first place, but even when you're starting off. So with 1500 stone, if you go into Outpost and you trade it in for wood, you'll have enough wood to make a building plan, hammer, 2 locks, 2 doors, a TC, and build a 2x1. So it's like maybe a couple stone nodes you have to hit with a stone pickaxe. Then if you get 2000 stone, you'll have enough wood to trade for a building plan, hammer, 2 locks, 2 doors, and a TC, and then you'll be able to build a wooden 2x2. So you're starting off, it's a great trade as well. If you can get the Outpost, you don't have to hit as many stone nodes. And even when you get your base down, if you're base nearby, come to Outpost, hit a few stone nodes on the way there, trade it in for wood, and you'll have wood for your furnaces for a while. Yo, thanks for watching this week's Rust Tips video. Be sure to check out the rest of the channel for more tips, monument guides, and a solo playthrough series. I stream on Twitch, so check that out as well. Join the Discord. If you want to see videos similar to this one, be sure to subscribe. Also leave a like. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave a comment in the comments section below. Thanks again. Peace.